Hey there, welcome back to Mdrn Woman with me, Alicia Nicole. Got my coffee. And today I just wanted to have a chat about Mdrn Woman. Why Mdrn Woman? Now, I did do a video, the very beginning, my first intro video, and it has the heart and purpose and mission of Mdrn Woman really well described. So check that out when you have a moment. It's on my YouTube channel, Mdrn space WOMAN, Mdrn Woman. I had to change the name because Mdrn Woman spelled out fully is trademarked. And so Mdrn Woman is not. And I like that look of like removing the vowels. It's a thing. Who knows, the name could change again before it's all done. It'll always be some variation of Mdrn Woman. And I'm going to explain a little bit why. I wanted to talk about the history of what happened in my life to get me to the point where I think I had the ability, experience, capacity to do this. I do want to clarify that I am not intending to set myself up as a leader per se, or to say this is my mission, follow me. The goal for me of Mdrn Woman is to create a space and community of women who empower one another to love, own, and live the fullness of who we are in God. And I say in God because He's the creator. He's the one who gives us our identity. And apart from Him, this pursuit does become really narcissistic and self-centered. When you talk about love you, own you, live you, we have to love ourselves before we can love others. And we find fulfillment and peace and joy in giving to others, but we can only give well when we have first learned to love ourselves. There's the scripture that says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love others as you love yourself. So to the extent that we have mastered the ability to love ourselves is the extent to which we can love others. Once you learn to love yourself, you have to own what you're called to do and live it to the fullness so that you can be fulfilled and so that people can get the best of you. Why Mdrn Woman? The story actually starts with a pretty terrible, tragic experience for me. Now, this is my story. This is how it impacted me. You may hear it and be like, I would have never gone through that or never fallen for that. And you probably wouldn't have. This is my story. Hopefully it is insightful for you. Growing up, I had a very loving, stable, enjoyable home environment and family experience. Doesn't mean that everything was crystalline, perfect all the time, but it was a really great childhood. My parents worked to give us the opportunities, and I do not take that for granted. It made me a really well-rounded person, as far as not being afraid to experience things, being ready and willing. Like when I went to college, I was ready for college because my parents very wisely set me up, gave me just the right amount of opportunity, just the right amount of latitude to really grow. I had a great childhood, great friends growing up. So I had a really good growing up experience. But when I got to college, that space of trying to find myself, and at one point in my freshman year, I was really at odds with my mom because she and I had different ideas about. I had gone to college thinking of one major and knew, okay, I'm not cut out for that. Thought I was going to be a doctor. No, I did not have a mind for sciences. So, you know, she and I were going back and forth because she's like, we sent you there because you said you wanted to do X, Y, Z, but if you're not going to do that, we can send you to a cheaper school. And I was like, no, my very first choice, you already said no. I really want to be here. It was just, you know, a lot going on. And I don't think it was she was right or I was right. It was, we just weren't seeing eye to eye and not communicating very well about it. And in that space, a person was inserted into my life, met them at church, and they ended up being a really unhealthy connection for me. They were someone who set themselves up as a mentor and a leader, and she was really broken in ways I couldn't see, but she had all the right sounding prophetic language and could interpret my dreams and speak on the Lord's behalf. And I didn't know enough about what true prophecy was or true spiritual leadership, to be honest, in a church setting where there are people who were, the churches that I grew up in, we had great pastors and things, but it wasn't a church that operated in spiritual gifts and things like that. So I didn't know enough to know that she was not operating in the best way. And it was really hard to see her broken spaces. I mean, she had position of leadership and influence in the church and worked really closely with people for the whole time that they lived in the area where I went to school, and kept having that position. So I knew that people didn't know what was really going on and what she was really like. But so it was a really emotionally abusive situation. She would tell me things. It's a very long story. Over the course of years, I grew closer to her and closer to her family. And she inserted herself as a prophetic voice and mentor, and really promoted in ways that I didn't see at the time a very codependent relationship with her. But she would simultaneously puff me up and encourage me in things that were not right for me or my life, and then degrade me for it. And I ended up in a cycle of emotional, spiritual abuse that I didn't see at the time. I almost ended up living like a slave to her and her family in their home, like sleeping in one of our daughter's beds, depending on them for my livelihood, because I went part-time to help her out with a business. And I happened to be working for her husband, and come to find out he was questioning why I was mooching off of them. But she told me she had prayed and talked with him, and they had both agreed that me going part-time on the job and them providing room and board and food would be how they would pay me. And she would say things like, well, God says that God showed me that you can live off this money. And I was living like a pauper, barely enough money to get lunch throughout the week. It was really, really bad. And there are a lot of things that go into that. Suffice it to say, through that situation, I was systematically stripped of my identity and worth and value in the Lord. She got me to a place where she convinced me that I didn't love God, that I'd lost my salvation because I had disobeyed him and disappointed him and sinned against him and sinned against her and her family so much that God, she said, he stripped you of your destiny. And if you become humble enough, he'll give you your destiny back. And it was a lie. Like, don't ever believe anyone if they say anything like that. But with that situation, what Satan didn't expect was that it would just drive me to the Lord, because I got saved again, even though I was already still saved. But I decided to be completely vulnerable and forthright with God and completely open to him. And I wasn't going to hold anything back. I was like, okay, if withholding, even though I could think back through situations where she would puff me up in prideful thoughts, and then that something happens, and I'd embarrassed her, told someone something she told me, and that person had come to her and said, did you tell her that? And she was embarrassed because she was found out in a particular situation. And then that came to me gossiping and sinning against her family. So in that scenario, what happened was I just went to the Lord completely broken and undone and said, put me back together. And eventually I realized how bad it was, and I said, get me out of this. And I started to have these series of encounters with God where he would put into my heart what he really wanted for me in the next phase, and he would cover me. And when I learned her deception and how she had been betraying me, dogging me out to people, and telling me something different to my face, I went into this I spiraled. I literally went to this Mexican restaurant around the corner or McDonald's, because at one point they moved and I was still renting from them. And I just ate junk food every day. All I could do was go to work, come home, eat, and watch Stargate. And I remember having this time with the Lord where I was like, are we okay? And he said, I love you. You're beautiful. I'm so proud of you. You're doing so well. And that shifted everything for me, because I wasn't doing any of the things that I was taught I had to be doing for God to say that he loved me or was proud of me and pleased with me and that I was doing well. And from that moment, and began a 10-year journey of restoration that is coming to its fulfillment this year. There's still some things to work out that I discovered this week. Like, yeah, that's another. I won't go into that to this video, so it's not so terribly long, but for the most part, I've been restored from that situation, and I would not go back through it again. I wouldn't live it again. Don't want to. And that's not one of the things that I wouldn't say I wouldn't trade. But what came from it was, in that systematic stripping of my identity, God was able to reestablish me in who I am in Him with a clearer picture. And so the Lord took that terrible scenario and made it something beautiful. And from that, I believe the seed of Mdrn Woman was birthed as recompense for that stripping of identity. Not only do I have it, but I get to share some of the key mysteries and the key things that God led me through to be able to help other women who are going through something similar come out, and to embolden and encourage those of us who are owning it to lift someone else up. Mdrn Woman is all about creating community for us to love one another, love ourselves, own ourselves, live who we are, live our best life in the Lord, and do it in community. I found that having a tribe of people to do it with, it energizes you. I have this amazing group of friends. I'm super connected with my family. They're all cheerleaders for me, and I cheer for them. I have a life that's staffed with really amazing people because God set it up that way. And I believe He has a tribe like that for every single person. And you may find your tribe in Mdrn Woman. I don't know. Hope so, at least a part of it. And so the materials I share, the resources are to help with growing and owning who we are and our identities in the Lord, but also practical things that I've learned with just being a single woman out here living the life, trying to get it right and love it. Different things about professionalism, vocation, how to find the right job, how to build a career while you're in another career, things like that I really didn't see any resources out there for, or think to look for them. I know they're there. I want to be a part of the Voice of Resources, a part of your library, a part of the system that helps you become who you are and figure out life as a woman. You know, if I had videos like this when I was 24, 5, 6, striking out on my own, renting my first place by myself, starting a job, building a career, where would I be now? I think I'd be a little further along, but I'm okay with that because God can redeem time. So that is why Mdrn Woman, that's why this channel exists. That's why this business is being built, and I'm loving it. I hope we can build a community together. So like the video, subscribe, share them with people, let's build together, because I can't do this myself. I am a Mdrn Woman, but the Mdrn Woman is all of us. Any woman who is seeking to live her best life, to own, love, and discover who she is, and to help others do that as well. Not just women, but men too. That is the Mdrn Woman. So I hope that brings clarity and understanding about what this channel is all about. And thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the next video.